Okay, so in this video we're going to look at cutting up edges and dealing with and trying to keep things in quads. So what we're going to do is create polygon primitive plane and create, scale it up, and I'm going to get rid of my grid. So here's a polygon primitive plane, and you want to keep things in quads. I think the biggest problem, however, though, is when I see models being made and you might have a lot of edge loops around like an ankle or a leg or something, and then they go all the way up the body, or maybe you've got, around your chest, it's going to be a little more broad. You've got all these edges to describe a chest, but then they go up into the neck and you wind up with all these necessary edges that you don't need. So there are ways around that. So for example, we could take three edges, these three edges, and turn them into essentially one. Okay, so how would we go about doing that? So I'm going to bring up my polycut tool. So we've got multi-cut, which is the tool that's used. That's right there in the menu. I've also got an older kind of a legacy split poly command that I prefer sometimes, because there's sometimes I just think this one's easier to use, but I've got them both up here, so they both do essentially the same thing. Let's say we had a lot of detail in one end of our model, and we didn't want the edges to go all the way down to the other side. So here's like the first real trick you could do to get detail like that. So we cut a little triangle here, and if we get rid of this particular edge, well, this edge is now a quad. And now what we could do is let's double click and select this edge loop, click delete, double click and select that edge loop and select complete, or delete, sorry. So now we've got essentially three edge loops. Let's say if they're coming down one end of the surface or body, and this is how you kind of terminate them, so then they are more like two. Last time I was talking about the transform tool, and I showed you that earlier in the video. I've also got that hooked up here too. So in this case, let's select an edge ring. So edge ring selected. I'm going to delete these, and actually what I'm going to do is select both of these edge ring, and with the control key, let's unselect those. Cool thing about this move component, or transform component, I'm calling it move here. It's really slick because if you use the scale key, or the scale square on it, allows you to scale a bunch of loops at the same time. And so, this is essentially how you would go about really adjusting your resolution. So many edges going down into one. You have to do some planning and tweaking to make that work, but that's like probably my most common way that I use to try to resolve quads and edges extending further down than what they need to. Another way of resolving quads, if I want more detail, like say in another area, is we can come into split poly, and we can just kind of come up here, and right here, and there, down again. I created more detail for myself if I was going to create a muscle or go along a form or something like that. But then I wound up with an n-gon, which is, for the purposes of this discussion, it's going to be a polygon with more than 4 verts, which you don't want to have. So the easiest way to fix that is just come in here and cut there. G to repeat last command. And then I'm going to go to object mode and edge mode. Whoops. So that's one thing I don't like about this multi-cut tool and some other tools is a little harder to get out of sometimes. You have to hit Q to get out of a command. So I needed to hit Q. So now I'm just going to select an edge, and then if I delete that, so wait a minute. I need to delete the this edge loop here. Delete. Okay, I'm going to take these verts and move them just like that. So now we have quads here. And then for this to be, valid, we'd have to delete that too. But anyway, so here you've got one set of edges, and you kind of cut around this kind of a technique, and then you've got essentially 3. So this is turning 3 columns of edges into 1, and vice versa. Both of these techniques right here, again, I'd use that for the lion's share of my quad model. There's also another video I'm going to put up there for you guys to look at, and I'll do that right now. And that video, I'm adding one more to the videos under week 2, and it's called n-gons and poles. So this is a good one to watch. So I'll just start it up here. It says legs, but it's using this image that I put up. I just kind of went through how to do these two. Now here I'm making this model, and I'm using this reference here on the other side of the screen. Is how I would figure out my topology. And so there's quite a few areas where I have quads, where what I'm doing is just I'm making cuts across edges, and then I'm getting in and kind of resolving them so that I can stay in quads. So this would be a good video to study. Highly recommend that you do it. So again, rounding forms. Look at this n-gons and poles. That's the one we were just looking at. And then this is the whole process, part 1 and 2, if you got an hour to kill. Our model, again, is also an extraction from these two. Watch this one first, though. And in the next video, we'll get into making more complicated cuts. So see you in the next video.